Hey, welcome to Inexpert Film Advice. I'm Deontay Jenkins, and here's what's on my mind. 10-ish films that you can watch to understand what film directing is and what a film director does. Before we get started, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, give it a thumbs up if you like this video, hit the notification bell so you can be the first to know when a new video is being uploaded. Check out my short film Cassidy by hitting the link in the description below or clicking here. Or here. I cannot remember which side it's on. I'm sorry. Now that that's out of the way, here are the 10-ish films that you need to watch if you want to understand what directing is and what a film director does. Let's go. By the way, this list is in no particular order at all. If you don't know, the director is the storyteller of the film, and they have certain tools to tell that story. When thinking about this list, I thought about films that really showed me what directing is and helped me become a better director.
Bouge pas ou je te brûle.
So much has been said about Breathless, I don't even know where to begin. Roger Ebert once said, modern movies start here. And for good reason. Luc-Gadard's Breathless helped usher in a new wave in cinema, literally with the French New Wave. This film is smart without being pretentious, it's funny without relying on comedy as a crutch, and it's innovative sometimes just for the sake of being innovative. It created the jump cut. This film, along with the 400 Blows, were the genesis of the French New Wave, which has influenced pretty much every film that comes since. Luc-Gadard's style and ideas on cinema seep into every single moment of this film. There are great moments such as the advent of the jump cut, the tongue-in-cheek way our protagonist is never seen without a cigarette, and then how when he dies his last breath is cigarette smoke, and there's a seemingly endless bedroom scene that just seems perfect for this film. In this film, Luc-Gadard shows directors how to be artists, and in the process invents a completely new cinematic language. After watching this film, every director wants to be like Godard, but this film is proof that every director needs to find their own voice.
Why don't you smile, Patricia? I just left Mr. McGregor. He was chez Adrien with me and Monique.
Now, for my number 2 spot, I decided to put 2 films here. 1, because I couldn't decide between the 2, and 2, because it's my fucking list and I can do whatever I want. 2 films, 2 character studies, 1 director. I'm talking about Martin Scorsese's Raging Bull and Taxi Driver. Both films put the audience firmly in the mindset of its protagonist, but in completely different ways. Where Taxi Driver feels cold and detached like Travis Bickle, Raging Bull feels paranoid and insecure like Jake LaMotta. Rather than relying on the fight scenes to hold up the picture, which by the way are still the best boxing scenes you will ever see in a film, instead Scorsese chooses to anchor the film with the domestic scenes, which are the main focus of the film to the point where all of the fight scenes seem to parallel Jake's insecurities, his desires, and whatever he's feeling in life. Jake's fights aren't driven by strategy or tactics, they're driven by his insecurities and his desires. Take for instance when his wife calls an up-and-coming opponent handsome. In the ring, Jake pounds the man's face in to the point where he's not very handsome anymore. And then when the fight is over, he doesn't look to his opponent who he just defeated, he looks out in the crowd to his wife, making sure she gets the message.
He ain't pretty no more.
It's a film about a man whose very motivation is his insecurities, and all of his successes and failures stems from that. On the other hand, in Taxi Driver, we're taken down a path of loneliness and madness.
You talking to me? Well, I'm the only one here.
The famous lines spoken by Robert De Niro pretty much sum up the entirety of the film. The film is a series of failed connection attempts by Travis Bickle, and Martin Scorsese puts us firmly in the maddening loneliness with him. The film is an example of a director putting us in places that we've felt before and showing us exactly how dark those places can go. We've all felt lonely and insecure, and Scorsese knows exactly how to push those buttons in us so we can feel those feelings with these characters. And that's why Raging Bull and Taxi Driver are my number 2 pick. Deal with it. Next up is The Apartment.
Watch the door, please. Blasting off.
What did you do to your hair?
It was making me nervous, so I chopped it off. Big mistake, huh?
No, I sort of like it.
You got a lulu.
Huh? Yeah, better not get too close.
I never catch colds.
It's also a film about loneliness and emptiness, but not depressingly so. It's a romantic comedy set around Christmas time, which is the loneliest time of the year for some. It follows two people who seem to have just accepted the shit that life throws at them. Jack accepts his bosses using his apartment like a sleazy hotel for their extramarital affairs, thinking it'll get him ahead in life.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Dorbridge, I didn't recognize your voice.
That's okay, buddy boy. Now, like I was saying, I'm in this joint on 61st, and I think I got lucky.
Which it does. Shirley accepts that all men are garbage, which is why she continues to put up with the married man that she's in a relationship with. Because what's the point of looking for another one when they're all just like this? Director Billy Wilder decides to shoot in widescreen black and white to emphasize the distance between characters and emphasize how they feel. There are wonderful moments of visual storytelling and subtext throughout. The film is a sardonic, satirical comedy that has sadness at its core. It shows you some of the realities of life, heartbreak, and loneliness with characters that are broken realists. It'll have you questioning why we sometimes put up with the shit that we put up with, even when we don't have to.
Ring out the old year, ring in the new.
Do the Right Thing is a film with a message, and it's not afraid to tell you what that message is. This beautifully shot, wonderfully over-the-top film is a dramatic and often comedic look at some of the harsh realities of life. It holds a mirror up to the viewer and demands that you look within yourself. Spike's choice of color palette and his combined use of expressive and stylized camera movement and composition work perfectly for the world that he's built. The film feels fun and inviting with its colorful characters and then gut punches you with its realities, which is one of the great things about Spike's direction in this film. He somehow manages to make 1989 Brooklyn look like the funnest and the scariest place to live. It almost dares you to not feel both extremes. If only the messages in the film would get through to people today. But I digress.
If I love you, I love you. But if I hate you...
Moving on. Next up is North by Northwest. There's a reason why Hitchcock is referenced as influenced by pretty much every filmmaker alive. He's truly the master, and North by Northwest is a prime example of that. From its opening minutes, we're thrust into a world of mystery, suspense, and espionage. We, the audience, are just as confused as our protagonist until we're not. Hitchcock takes us from being participants in the story to being observers effortlessly. To be honest, pretty much all of Hitchcock's films could have been on this list. But this film stood out to me, not just for its intense set pieces, but for its dry wit and humor. All that this final shot of that film implies still makes me laugh to this day. It's the master of suspense at the height of his powers, but also at his most gentle and his most humorous. It's a masterpiece by a master filmmaker, and each shot will teach you something about cinema.
Would somebody start the bidding at $750, please?
How do we know it's not a fake? It looks like a fake.
Well, one thing we know, you're no fake. You're a genuine idiot.
Thank you.
Next up is In the Mood for Love. Subtlety is the name of the game of this film.
咁堂弟約你出嚟，其實有啲嘢想請教你。你今早拎住嗰個手袋咧，唔知喺邊處有得買咧？
你點解咁樣問嘅？
冇，我見個款幾骨子，想買一個送俾我太太啫嘛。
Almost too subtle at times, to the point where sometimes it's difficult to tell what's going on. That could be because some things are lost in translation, but it also is because the director chose to shoot it that way. It's a story about restraint, and he shows extreme amounts of restraint in the way he chooses to tell it, which only adds to the situation that our two leads find themselves in. It's a subtle love story with very subtle shot selection and composition. I can almost guarantee that this film will be disliked by many upon first viewing. But it's a film that demands to be watched over and over again. It demands to be researched. It demands to be understood. I'm not saying it's the deepest thing ever, but there are certain things that you just don't catch the first time around. Director Kar-wai evokes emotion that sometimes is difficult to grasp. This film is a film that will show you the subtle artistry of cinema, with themes that transcend cultures but are also very much rooted in the Chinese culture that they come from, which is one of the things that I like about cinema. We get a beautiful look into other cultures by the people that live in the culture. Damn, I said culture a lot. Sometimes art is hard to explain, hard to grasp, but it has something that makes you feel, makes you pay attention. And whatever that thing is, In the Mood for Love has it in droves. From a subtle film to an outright indulgent film, in Kill Bill, Tarantino delivers the goods. In an interview, Tarantino once said, when dealing in genre, you have to deliver the goods, meaning that when you're making a film in a genre, you have to make a film within that genre first. If you're making a Western, it has to be a Western first and foremost. If you're making a sci-fi, it has to be a sci-fi first and foremost. Everything else is put to the side until you do that. And when dealing with an artist that lives in genre fields, you can expect him to do what he does best and craft an amazing genre piece. And he does that in abundance in Kill Bill. Kill Bill is an amazingly crafted, over-the-top martial arts and samurai film with breathtaking action sequences to match that. Some of the best action sequences you'll ever find in cinema, to be honest. Much like Breathless, this is a film where the director's voice isn't just speaking to you, but shouting at you through the screen. And you can see the love and respect that Quentin has for these type of films throughout. The power of entertainment is on full display here, but the love story that lies underneath is even more powerful. I used to think the ending of Kill Bill was kind of lackluster, but now it amazes me. The movie is about heartbreak and loss and the desire to be a parent and the pain of losing a lover and having them move on before your eyes. It's a film that's deeper than it appears at first glance, and it proves that art and entertainment are two sides of the same coin. Kill Bill is a film that shows you can be extremely personal while at the same time cutting off somebody's arm. Next up, Jaws. Jaws is a horror film done right. This is the film that shows that the unknown is scarier than what we can see, famously not showing the shark for the majority of the film. And the great part about it is that Spielberg was forced to do that because the shark that they built wasn't working on set. Being forced to come up with creative solutions and thinking of things in ways that you haven't is something that all directors need to know. But really pay attention to the way Spielberg chooses his shots and edits this film. That's where the real mastery is. That's where you see how he implies things that aren't really there, rather than just showing you the shark come up and just... See how he frames his images, how he moves his camera, and how it makes you feel dread and anxiety. Pay attention to how he cuts and makes you feel like something could happen at any moment. It's a film that will show you how a director controls their audience and gets them to feel exactly what they want to feel, exactly when they want them to feel it. This is the very first summer blockbuster, and it'll show you how a director keeps an audience on the edge of their seat while at the same time keeping them entertained.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
The man's a master, and I will not stand for any Spielberg bashing. At all. Annie Hall.
The other important joke for me is one that's usually attributed to Groucho Marx, but I think it appears originally in Freud's Wit and its relation to the unconscious. And it goes like this, I'm paraphrasing. I would never want to belong to any club that would have someone like me for a member.
Who says comedies can't be artistic? Annie Hall proves that wrong with his intellectual humor and his quirky style. Say what you will about Woody Allen's personal life, but there's no denying his contribution to cinema. Allen gives us so many unique stylistic choices in this film. Scenes like the split-screen therapy session or the hilarious subtext
Photography is
scene.
interesting because, you know, it's a new art form and a set of aesthetic criteria have not emerged yet.
Or how Woody Allen breaks the fourth wall not just as a gag, but as a commentary on the pseudo-intellectual film.
How you ever got to teach a course in anything is totally amazing.
Boy, if life were only like this.
And that's all without even mentioning its non-linear story structure. This film is filled with style and wit and shows just how important comedy is to cinema. Even upon first watching, the film feels familiar and warm and inviting, which is not easy to achieve. It's funny and smart at the same time, and it's a prime example of how a director's personality can seep into a film.
Well, didn't you take a shower at the club?
I mean, no, because I never shower in a public place.
Why not?
Because I don't like to get naked in front of another man, you know? It's
And finally, last but not least, The Godfather.
That I cannot do.
This is the closest thing to perfection that movies have to offer us. It's somewhat of a cliche to say, but it's no denying it. Francis Ford Coppola's Mafia film is the film that you want to watch when you want to see flawless filmmaking. The mood that Coppola sets throughout is masterful and impressive. And by the end of the film, you feel like you've lived in a world that most of us wouldn't dare step foot in. He takes his time with his storytelling, first opting to build the world and show the lifestyle for about an hour before actually getting into the story. It's a director who has the audience in the palm of his hands and knows exactly where to take them. If you haven't seen The Godfather, you haven't truly experienced movies and all that they can be. Pay attention to the subjective camera that matches various characters' personalities, whether it's Don Corleone's cool wisdom or Sonny's hot-headed outburst. Coppola knows exactly what he wants to say and says it to perfection. These 10-ish films will teach you so much about directing and what a director does, which is why I picked them. These films are some of the best that cinema has to offer as far as directing goes, and if you watch them, you'll learn something for sure. But then again, what do I know? I'm no expert. Thank you again for joining me on another Inexpert Film Advice. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. As always, if there's anything you want my Inexpert Advice on, you can drop it down in the comments below or hit me up on social media. Don't forget to check out my short film Cassidy, link in the description below, and I'll see you next time. Peace.